I am Ava Thompson, 29 years old, and the night my family decided I was trash, they literally threw my entire life into the garbage. I drove my old Honda Civic home after a shift at the local coffee shop in the Chicago suburbs. Early November, the rain was a cold drizzle, the kind of Illinois rain that seeps into your bones. I was still wearing the brown apron from the shop, my hair tied in a messy ponytail, holding a takeaway coffee that had gone cold. In my head, I was only thinking about color palettes for a new client project, a startup in Portland that had just signed a freelance contract with me. For the first time in over a year, I felt a real spark of hope. I imagined moving out of my mom's basement soon, renting a small studio again, paying off my credit card debt, and finally breathing freely. I turned onto the familiar street, headlights sweeping over rows of maple trees with red-yellow leaves. Something felt off. The front of the house was lit up with phone flashes. I slowed down, heart beating faster. Then I saw it. My belongings were scattered all over the front lawn. Black trash bags bulging, clothes spilling out like torn guts. The portfolios I'd painstakingly printed lay everywhere, paper soaked and stuck to the mud. My old MacBook, the most valuable thing I owned, was flipped open on top of the pile, screen glistening with rain. The smell of wet plastic and dirt hit my nose. My mom, Karen, stood in the middle of the mess, holding her phone up, live streaming. I could clearly hear her voice through the phone speaker, sweet in that mom content way she always posted on Facebook and TikTok. Moms, today is the hardest day of my single mom life. I've tried everything to help her, but there are limits I can't cross anymore. She wasn't looking at me. She was looking at the screen, reading the scrolling comments. My brother Tyler, wearing his Carhartt jacket stained with grease from the garage, laughed loudly and kicked one of my bags hard enough to send it rolling across the grass. "Bye-bye, starving artist stuff," he shouted loud enough for the mic to catch. My sister Brooke, 25, with perfectly highlighted blonde hair, held a second phone filming close-ups. She panned the camera, zooming in on my soaked Converse sneakers, then up to Mom's dramatic face. "Family drama realness, guys," Brooke whispered to her followers. "Like if you've ever had to do tough love like this." Someone across the street actually applauded. Really applauded. I parked at the curb, turned off the engine, and sat still for a moment. My heart pounded in my ears. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I just opened the car door and stepped into the rain. Mom finally looked at me. Her eyes lit up with a kind of triumph. "You're 29 years old, Ava," she said more to the camera than to me. "Still mooching off me like a freeloader. I've given you chance after chance. Today, you get out of my house." She emphasized my house like it was an unbreakable truth. I didn't answer. I knelt on the wet grass, hands shaking as I picked up what I could still save. The MacBook, thank God it still worked. One thick portfolio with a torn cover but dry pages inside. Clothes, most were beyond saving. I stuffed what I could into the trunk, rain running down my face, impossible to tell if it was tears or not. Tyler smirked. "Don't forget the folding table in the basement, artist." Brooke zoomed in on my face. "Chat's asking if she's crying yet. Sorry, guys, Ava's always this cool." I closed the trunk, got in the car, and started the engine. Rain hammered the windshield. In the rearview mirror, I saw Mom still talking, still performing. "Single mom for 15 years, guys. You do what you have to do." I drove away without looking back. That night, I drove around Chicago until past 2 a.m., not knowing where to go. I ended up in front of Mia's apartment, my best friend from college. She opened the door, saw me soaked, belongings piled in the car, and just said, "Come in." I sat on Mia's couch, clutching a mug of hot tea, shaking. Mia waited for me to speak first. "Mom threw everything out," I whispered, "and live streamed it. All of it." Mia stared for a second, then grabbed her phone. Someone sent me the recording before Brooke deleted it. She played the video. I'd never watched it live. Now, on the small screen, I saw myself stepping out of the car, face pale under the streetlight. Mom in the center of the lawn, phone raised high, voice sweet like a content creator. Sometimes tough love is the only love that works, guys. Tyler kicking a bag. Brooke zooming in on the wet MacBook. Comments flying. Fire emojis. Queen Karen. She needed this wake-up call. I watched it like a horror movie about my own life. Then Mia paused and zoomed in on something. Look at this. In the frame, as Brooke panned over the pile, my laptop bag was wide open. On top was the printed Lumina Tech contract I'd left on the basement desk, paper crumpled, clearly rifled through. The line, monthly retainer, $6,500, stood out under the flash. Mia looked at me. Brooke was down there yesterday, right? She said she needed your ring light for a shoot. I nodded slowly. I told her not to touch my desk. That's how they knew. Everything suddenly made sense. It wasn't Mom snapping out of nowhere. She knew I was about to escape the basement, about to stop being her poor thing. She needed a dramatic ending to her story, and she needed me as the villain so she could be the hero. I leaned back on the couch, mind reeling. Mia got up, went to her bedroom, and came back with an old craft folder, edges worn. You need to see this. I kept it for you. The folder was from 4 years ago, after Grandpa Robert died of lung cancer. He was the only person in the family who always believed in me completely. He'd been a small real estate investor, buying and selling properties in Illinois and Colorado since the 80s. He used to take me on drives to look at houses when I was little, explaining good bones and up-and-coming neighborhoods. After the funeral, Mom handed me an envelope from his lawyer. I was finishing my senior year of college, grieving and overwhelmed, so I barely glanced at it. Mom said, "Just boring estate stuff, honey. I'll handle it with the lawyer." I trusted her. Now, for the first time, I opened the folder properly. Inside was a copy of the will, a letter from the attorney, Mrs. Elena Ramirez, and a handwritten note from Grandpa. The will was clear. 40% of the current house Mom lived in. She owned the remaining 60. 60% of a 2-bedroom condo in Denver, Colorado, currently long-term rented. 35% of Thompson Auto Repair, the garage Tyler managed. Tyler had 65%. There was even a handwritten note from Grandpa at the bottom. Ava sees things clearly. She understands responsibility in a way others don't yet. This will protect her if the family ever forgets that. My hands shook so hard the paper rustled. Mia sat beside me, voice soft. Your mom never told you? I shook my head. For 5 years, Mom constantly complained about carrying the family financially while I lived in the basement. She collected rent from the Denver condo, estimated $2,200 to $2,500 a month, and never shared a cent with me. She used that money to remodel the kitchen with granite counters, buy a new SUV, and help Tyler expand the garage. She had taken my share while telling everyone she was saving her failed daughter. I sat silent for a long time, shocked, angry, and a cold clarity underneath. Grandpa had seen it coming. He knew one day the family might forget to see my responsibility. He didn't leave me assets to make me rich. He left them so I would have power, choices. Mia put a hand on my shoulder. What are you going to do? I looked at Grandpa's letter, the handwriting shaky from illness. This will protect her. I folded the folder and clutched it to my chest. I'm going to do exactly what Grandpa wanted, I said. I'm going to protect myself. That night, I slept on Mia's couch, the first time in months without hearing Mom's footsteps overhead. I dreamed of Grandpa smiling, nodding like he knew I'd finally understood. The next morning, I called Mrs. Elena Ramirez, the lawyer who still had the file. Her voice was warm, professional. I've been wondering when you'd call, Ava. She confirmed everything was still valid. The will was notarized, assets undivided properly. Denver condo rent went into an account solely in Mom's name. And any loans against joint assets without my signature could be challenged. I hung up, hands no longer shaking. They thought throwing my things into the rain was the end of my story. Actually, it was just when I started reading the chapter Grandpa had written for me long ago. 6 months after that rainy night, if anyone saw me, they wouldn't recognize the girl stuffing wet sketchbooks into her car. I had changed, not in a dramatic movie way, but quietly, solidly, like someone who finally learned to stand straight. The week after watching the video and opening the will folder, I called Mrs. Elena Ramirez. Her voice on the line was calm, professional, but unusually warm for a lawyer. "I've been waiting for this call for a long time, Ava," she said. Robert was very clear about his wishes. "We met at her small office downtown Chicago in an old brick building Grandpa would definitely have approved of, solid, unpretentious." Mrs. Ramirez spread documents in front of me, bank statements, Denver condo lease agreements, Tyler's garage papers, and the special clause in the will Mom never mentioned. If any co-owner concealed the will's existence or excluded me from decisions, their ownership share could be reduced up to 15% per year at a judge's discretion. She didn't promise easy victory, but she was clear. We don't need to destroy them. We just need to force them to acknowledge you exist, on paper and in reality. I left the office with a clear plan: silence, rebuild, and wait for the right moment. I rented a small studio in Logan Square, 600 square feet, real wood floors, big windows overlooking tree-lined streets. Rent was much higher than the $500 I paid Mom, but it was my money, from my work. I bought secondhand furniture on Facebook Marketplace, an IKEA desk, and a money tree plant for the corner. The first night sleeping there, I lay listening to distant L train rumbles. No footsteps overhead, no sighs about electric bills, just the quiet of my own space. Work with Luminatech started on schedule. Harper, the creative director, sent a welcome email with the first project list. I worked 8 a.m. to 6 p.m., sometimes later when in flow. They paid on time, no reminders needed. After 3 months, the retainer increased slightly because I took on motion graphics. I gradually dropped coffee shop shifts, keeping only weekends when I wanted real human contact beyond screens. I didn't block my family, but I didn't respond either. The first messages came just 2 days after the livestream night. "Mom, honey, call me when you cool down. We need to talk." Then Tyler, "Yo, you're overreacting. Come get the rest of your stuff." Brooke sent crying stickers with "Family hurts the most." I read them, then left them on read. They kept coming. Mom sent Sunday dinner photos, acting like nothing happened. Brooke tagged me in stories, missing my big sis. Tyler texted, "Mom's worried sick. At least tell us you're safe." I never replied once. Not because I wasn't angry, I still was, but because I needed silence to heal. I needed space to remember who I was beyond the role of failed daughter living in Mom's basement. Mia was the only person I saw regularly. We walked around Humboldt Park, grabbed coffee at small shops, talked about everything except family. She never asked, "Why aren't you answering your mom?" She just said, "You're doing the right thing." In those 6 months, Mrs. Ramirez worked quietly behind the scenes. She gathered bank statements, leases, loan documents Mom and Tyler signed without my signature. She sent periodic check-ins. "Ready yet?" I always replied, "Not yet. Give me more time." That time was worth more than gold. I joined Chicago's designer community, monthly meetups at WeWork, Figma workshops, rooftop networking events. I met others laid off like me, heard their stories, and realized I wasn't alone. I reopened my savings account, contributing 20% of income monthly. I got my own health insurance, signed up for an online animation course. I hiked alone at Starved Rock State Park, stood on cliffs overlooking the glistening Illinois River, and for the first time felt I'm alive again. By May the following year, my bank account first crossed $10,000 in savings. I stood in my small studio, looking out at spring green leaves and cried. Not from sadness, but pride. I had done it without anyone's help, relying only on myself. I texted Mia. "I'm okay now." She replied instantly, "Send it to Ramirez." I called the lawyer the next day. "I'm ready." Mrs. Ramirez smiled over the phone, a rare but genuine smile. "Good. We'll start with formal letters. No threats, no drama, just truth on paper." I hung up, stood by the window, watching bustling Chicago streets below. They thought throwing my things into the rain was the end. Actually, it was just when I started rebuilding, brick by brick, stronger than ever. And now I had a new home, not just the small studio, but myself, solid and no longer disposable. 6 months after the fateful rainy night, I sat in my small Logan Square studio, window open, letting an early summer Chicago breeze carrying the smell of freshly cut grass. On the table was a still hot pour-over coffee, MacBook open to the spreadsheet Mrs. Ramirez sent. Cold but clear numbers. 5 years of Denver condo rent, loans Mom and Tyler signed without my signature, estimated asset values. Mrs. Ramirez called at 10 a.m. "You sure, Ava?" I took a deep breath. "Sure." The formal letters were sent that afternoon. Not personal emails, not dramatic texts, just professional letters on law office letterhead, sent certified mail and simultaneously emailed as signed PDFs. One to Mom's home address, one to Tyler's garage. Content brief, polite, emotionless. "Dear Mrs. Karen Thompson and Mr. Tyler Thompson, we represent Miss Ava Thompson regarding the estate of Mr. Robert Thompson, deceased 2020. Per the notarized and filed will, Miss Ava Thompson is co-owner of 40% of the property at current home address, 60% of the rental property in Denver, Colorado, 35% of Thompson Auto Repair. Over the past 5 years, rental income and major financial decisions regarding joint assets have been made without Miss Ava Thompson's involvement or consent. We request full reporting of Denver property income from 2020 to present. Discussion of compensation for Miss Ava Thompson's past due share. Establishment of transparent management for joint assets going forward. We prefer amicable resolution outside court. Please contact within 30 days to schedule a meeting. Respectfully, Elena Ramirez, Esquire. I reread the letter before Mrs. Ramirez hit send. No threats, no accusations, just truth on paper. The reaction came faster than expected. 3 days later, on a quiet Wednesday afternoon, while I was in a Zoom meeting with the Lumina Tech team, my phone started vibrating non-stop on the desk. I ended the meeting early, picked it up, screen full of notifications. The family group chat, the one I'd never left, exploded. Tyler, what the F is this lawyer letter? Ava, call me now. Brooke, sis, please, we need to talk before you ruin everything. Mom, Ava Marie Thompson, where are you living? Why are you doing this to us? Call me immediately. Then private messages. From Mom, 12 in a row. Tone swinging between pleading and angry, pretending the live stream never happened. Honey, I've been so worried. This letter scared me half to death. Come home so we can fix this as a family. From Tyler, you're really gonna sue your own mother over some old paper? Grandpa would be ashamed. From Brooke, I can't believe you're choosing money over blood. My followers are asking what's going on, and I don't even know what to say. In just 2 hours, over 80 notifications, voicemails overflowing, Mom crying in one, I raised you better than this, Ava. How can you tear this family apart? They sent old photos, last Christmas, me awkwardly smiling at the basement table beside the tree, caption from Mom, remember when we were happy? Aunts and uncles jumped in. Aunt Linda, the only one close to Grandpa, wrote one line. Maybe we should have told Ava about the will back then. Then immediately left the chat. I sat reading every message, but didn't reply. Not because I felt nothing. I still hurt by the blatant fakery. For 6 months, they never apologized for that rainy night, never asked how I was, just sent dinner photos and generic messages like nothing happened. Now, when legal paper arrived at their door, they suddenly needed to talk like family. I set the phone face down, made more coffee, and sat by the window watching the street. Kids biking, neighbor watering plants, ordinary life continuing. Mrs. Ramirez texted, "They'll try pulling you into emotional drama. Don't take the bait. We keep everything on paper." I replied, "I know, I'm not responding." And I didn't. They kept sending.
Mom called so much I switched to Do Not Disturb. Brooke posted cryptic crying stories. "When family turns their back on you, pray for us." Not tagging me, but followers smart enough to guess. I just worked, walked in the park, met Mia for craft beer, and slept well in my own space. They panicked because for the first time, they lost control of the narrative. And I, for the first time in years, felt in control of my own life. The smear campaign started just days after the lawyer letters arrived. I was lounging on the sofa after a long day editing motion graphics, feet up, phone on silent. Mia texted a TikTok link with 3 words, "You need to see this." I clicked. Brooke sat in her old room, the pink one Mom repainted last year with Denver condo money. Perfect ring light, mascara smudged just enough to look vulnerable. She didn't say my name, but didn't need to. 3-minute video, ASMR whisper voice. I've always tried to keep things private, but sometimes the people closest to you, they change. Suddenly you're the villain because you won't let them take what isn't theirs. My mom, a single mom who sacrificed everything, is being attacked over something she never even hid. And my brother's business might go under because of it. Comments flooded. "Your sister sounds toxic AF. Cut her off, queen. Greedy people will do anything for inheritance." Some old followers from when I was still tagged in family photos found my portfolio Instagram and started DMing. "So you're suing your own mom over rent money? Classy. Get a real job instead of chasing grandpa's money." I scrolled, heart racing, but not surprised. Mrs. Ramirez had warned, "They'll try painting you as the attacker. Admitting fault is harder." A few days later, harassment spread to professional spaces. I opened Behance Monday morning and saw 3 new 1-star reviews on my profile. Unprofessional and emotionally unstable, refused to collaborate with family, imagine what she'd do to clients. Another, drama queen, avoid if you value peace. Language identical to Mom's muttered phrases, emotionally unstable, drama. I screenshotted everything, sent to Mrs. Ramirez. She replied briefly, "Evidence? Good." Brooke posted more stories, this time crying for real, red eyes. "Sometimes the people you'd give everything for will sell you out for $1. Pray for my family." Followers surged from the drama. A small local influencer quote tweeted her video, "Chicago family tea is hot tea." I didn't respond publicly. I turned off Instagram comments, set portfolio to private review, and kept working. But every night before sleep, I still checked, not to read, but to document. Then Tyler showed up. Friday afternoon, I was leaving my building, laptop bag over shoulder, heading to grocery shop. A silver pickup with faded paint parked at the curb, Thompson Auto Repair logo on the door. Tyler stepped out, eyes bloodshot, work shirt greasy, holding a crumpled Marlboro pack. "We need to talk," he said, blocking my path. I stopped, kept my voice steady. "Call my lawyer." He laughed sharply, voice raspy from smoking. "That old lady turning you against your own blood? This is between us, Ava. Just sign a paper saying you don't want the house or the shop. Everything goes away. Bank stops calling. We go back to normal." Normal. The word almost made me laugh. I reminded myself there were building security cameras behind me. "I'm not signing away what Grandpa left me because you took loans without my consent." His eyes narrowed. "You think you know business because Grandpa drove you around a few houses when you were a kid? You're going to destroy everything he built." "He built it," I said. "You and Mom just pretended I wasn't part of it." He stepped closer, voice low and threatening. "If you don't stop this, you'll regret it. None of us will ever forgive you. You'll be alone." In that moment, old Ava, the basement girl who apologized to keep peace, almost rose up. Almost said, "Okay, we can work something out." Instead, I stepped back, pulled out my phone, and held it up so he could clearly see the red recording icon.
"You done?" Tyler looked at the recording, face paling.
He muttered a curse, turned back to the truck, threw the cigarette pack on the ground, and drove off fast. That night, I sent the audio file to Mrs. Ramirez. She replied one sentence: "Thank you. This helps." While Brooke pushed the betrayal narrative online, Mrs. Ramirez quietly built a different one, on paper, with bank statements, loan contracts, and now evidence of threats. They shouted louder to keep control. I just needed to stay silent and let the law speak. The mediation took place on a muggy August morning in downtown Chicago. The mediation office was in an old glass building, conference rooms smelling of stale coffee and paper. Mrs. Ramirez sat beside me, stack of files neatly arranged. I wore a simple black blazer, hair tied low, trying to keep my face calm, though my heart pounded like a drum. Across the long table, my family sat in a row.
Mom wore a floral church dress, hands clutching a tissue, eyes red like she'd been crying beforehand. Tyler on her right, pressed shirt but dark circles under his eyes, gripping the chair arms. Brooke on the left, perfect makeup, phone face down, but I knew she was checking notifications. Their lawyer, Mr. Harlan, an older man with a gravelly voice, sat at the end, looking tired like he already knew the outcome. Mrs. Ramirez opened, voice even. "We are here to resolve outside court. Miss Ava Thompson has legal rights per Mr. Robert Thompson's will." Mr. Harlan nodded. "My clients want to keep this in the family. No need for court." Mrs. Ramirez smiled faintly. "It became public when my client was evicted on the front lawn on camera." Mom spoke immediately, voice trembling. "That was a mistake. I was at my breaking point. Raising 3 kids alone, sacrificing everything, and then Ava threatened to leave without contributing more. I just snapped." She wiped tears, looked at me pleadingly. "Honey, you know I only want what's best. I took you in when no one else would." Tyler jumped in. "Grandpa would have wanted me to have a shot at the business. I put blood and sweat into that shop. That loan kept it afloat during COVID." Brooke cried for real, voice small. "I've lost sleep over this. My community is confused. I just want my sister back." They took turns, circling themes of sacrifice, family, tough love, not once directly apologizing for the rainy night, the video, what they said to thousands of viewers. I sat silent, listening. Mrs. Ramirez let them finish, then gently slid the will across the table, pointing to the concealment clause. 4 years of concealed ownership, she said.
That triggers the penalty clause. Up to 15% reduction per year, at a judge's discretion.
The room suddenly went quiet. Mr. Harlan cleared his throat. "What exactly is your client seeking?" Mrs. Ramirez pushed the prepared proposal. I spoke for the first time, voice clearer than I expected. "I'm not here to destroy anyone's life. I'm here to stop you from pretending mine doesn't matter." I listed.
Past income compensation from Denver condo, approximately $25,000 USD, paid over 3 years. Independent management for the condo, third-party company collecting rent and distributing shares correctly. My name officially recorded on all asset paperwork as the will intended. And a public statement, acknowledging they withheld the will and correcting misinformation about me living off them.
Mom paled. "Public? Honey, we can apologize privately, family to family. No need to humiliate us online." I looked straight at her. "You already humiliated me. On camera, to strangers. Neighbors watched. Comments called me lazy, ungrateful. You did that part publicly. You can fix it the same way." The room was silent for a long time. Mr. Harlan whispered to Mom. Tyler muttered something about choosing money over mother. Brooke stared at her phone like she wanted to live stream right there. Mrs. Ramirez gently reminded, "If we go to court, the concealment clause alone could cost significantly more, plus legal fees, public record." They negotiated for hours. They tried lowering the amount to $15,000. I didn't budge. They tried removing the public apology. Mrs. Ramirez reminded them of the live stream video and Tyler's recorded threat. They tried keeping condo management control. Mrs. Ramirez presented unauthorized loan statements. Finally, exhaustion and fear won. Mom signed first, hand shaking so badly her signature wobbled. Tyler signed next, face flushed. Brooke signed last, tears falling onto the paper. The agreement stated clearly, $25,000 repayment in 36 months. Independent management company taking over Denver condo. Public statement within 2 weeks, acknowledging withheld will and correcting misinformation about me. I signed last, signature firm, no tremble. Leaving the room, Mom tried grabbing my hand in the hallway. Ava, we can heal this. Come home for dinner sometime. I looked at her, then at Tyler and Brooke standing behind, heads down. Maybe, I said, when the statement goes live. I walked out into Chicago sunshine, Mrs. Ramirez beside me. She smiled faintly. You did well. Calm, clear, firm. I nodded, breathing in freedom. They signed not from remorse. They signed because for the first time they realized law is stronger than drama, and I was no longer the basement girl ready to apologize for keeping peace. Consequences came gradually, not cinematic, but quiet and certain, like an old house crumbling brick by brick. First was Tyler's garage. Just a week after mediation, he called, the first time since threatening me outside my apartment. Bank throws the line of credit tied to the condo. Without that buffer, we can't cover payroll. I listened silently. He continued, shops closing next month. 2 months after that, doors shut for good. I didn't gloat. I just said, I'm sorry to hear that, and hung up. Thompson Auto Repair, where Tyler once proudly called it Grandpa's legacy, closed late summer. The old sign came down, yard full of half-finished customer cars towed away. I drove past once, from a distance, saw Tyler standing outside, hands in pockets, staring at the new for lease sign. He didn't see me. Brooke was next. She posted an update video weeks after the agreement, sitting in her room with dim lighting, voice soft. Taking a break from social media for mental health reasons. Family stuff has been really hard. Follower count dropped sharply when people started asking in comments, what about that eviction live stream? Where's the apology? An old compilation resurfaced. The video of Mom and Brooke filming that rainy night went viral on local Chicago TikTok. Hashtag Thompson Family Drama trended for a day. A small clothing brand she was ambassador for quietly ended the partnership. Their public email on Twitter. We no longer align with influencers involved in public family disputes. Affiliate revenue fell, views tanked. Brooke deleted most old content, switched to private account. I saw from afar through mutual friends' stories. She posted coffee photos captioned, starting over. Mom was last, but most visible. She sold her new Honda Pilot SUV, the one she proudly posted about on Facebook last year, captioned, Single Mom Treat Yourself, Nails. She switched to an older, cheaper sedan to free up money for the first $25,000 payment. I knew because Aunt Linda messaged indirectly through Mia. Your mom's struggling with the payments. She's catching rides to church now. She posted the public statement on time. A long Facebook post, tone reluctant. I want to clarify some misunderstandings about my daughter Ava. Information about my father's will was not shared promptly, and some things said about her contribution were inaccurate. We're working through this as a family. No direct apology, but enough to satisfy the agreement. Comments mixed, half comforting her, half asking about the old video. I observed it all from a distance. Not by stalking, I'd muted them everywhere, but through screenshots Mia sent, cousin gossip, drives past the old house. I didn't gloat. No like button for Mom waiting for neighbor rides after neighbors watched the live stream. No joy in Tyler unemployed or Brooke losing influencer glow. I just felt peace. One September evening, I sat on my small studio balcony, drinking local craft beer, watching sunset paint Chicago's sky red. Phone buzzed, message for Mom. Long post about forgiveness and healing family wounds with old childhood photo of me. I read, then left it. I didn't reply. I had my own life now, Stable Lumina tech job, projects piling up, real Chicago friends, weekend hikes, and a growing bank account thanks to properly distributed condo income through the management company. They once wanted the world to see me as dead weight. Now the world saw a mother who humiliated her daughter on camera, then got caught hiding an inheritance. That didn't make me happy, just relieved.
Because for the first time, consequences landed where they belonged, on the people who created them, instead of on me. I didn't dance on their ruins. I just kept living in my small apartment with work I love, money I earn, and freedom no one can throw into the rain anymore. That was the quietest satisfaction, not watching them lose, but knowing I won by living better, stronger, and no longer letting them define my worth. These days, my life looks ordinary from the outside, and honestly, that's exactly what I want. I wake up in my small Logan Square studio in Chicago, where the smell of freshly ground coffee mixes with printer ink from the corner machine. Autumn Illinois sunlight filters through big windows, shining on my real desk, no longer a folding table in the basement.
On the wall is a corkboard covered in project notes, color swatches, and a few postcards from my latest hike at Indiana Dunes. By the window is the money tree I bought early this year. It's still thriving, even though I often forget to water it. I brew my own coffee in my tiny kitchen, open my MacBook, and start the workday. Lumina Tech has now made me full-time official with full benefits and steadier pay than ever. I lead a small UI design team for their new app, zooming with commus in Portland, San Francisco, even Berlin. Evenings, I shut down, walk to the corner bar to meet Mia and my new friends, designers, developers, photographers I met through Chicago meetups. We talk about new Figma plugins, exhibits at the Art Institute, weekend kayaking plans on Lake Michigan. I pay every bill with money I earned. No one sighs about utilities.
No one asks, contributed today? Just me and the life I built day by day. Family still reaches out, but I've set clear boundaries. Tyler texted once, about a month after the garage closed. Long message, talking about job hunting, asking if I had marketing advice. He wanted to start an online parts shop. I replied briefly, practically. 3 bullet points about building a website, basic SEO, and Facebook ad budgeting. He thanked me, asked more. I didn't reply further. Not out of hate, just not wanting to return to the old role, always ready to help without reciprocation. Brooke tried contacting from a backup account. Long DM. I miss you, sis. The internet doesn't know the full story. Can we talk? I read it, felt a twinge of sadness, but left it on read. I don't hate her. I just don't trust her with access to my new life anymore. Mom sent a handwritten letter once. Thick envelope, neat handwriting like old Christmas cards. She wrote about stress, fear of losing the house, mistakes she made just trying to keep the family together. She wrote hoping one day I'd forgive, that I'd come home for Thanksgiving when things returned to normal. I folded the letter, put it in a small wooden box with Grandpa's will copy and a few old photos. Forgiveness doesn't mean returning to the family version that broke me. One late night, after finishing a big Lumina project, I found an old voicemail from Grandpa still saved on my phone, from years ago when he was still healthy. I played it without thinking. His voice, warm, slightly raspy with age. Hey, kiddo. Just calling to say I'm proud of you. Things feel heavy sometimes, I know, but you see the details others pretend aren't there. That's going to carry you far one day. I sat on the living room floor, laughed once through tears. He had no idea how right he was. For a long time, I thought revenge meant making them feel as small as they made me feel. Standing on that rainy lawn, I fantasized about some grand, painful comeback. In the end, revenge looked different. It looked like using truth instead of screaming. It looked like boundaries instead of begging. It looked like making their lies cost them money, reputation, comfort, while I built a quieter, stronger life. I won't deny feeling satisfaction seeing Mom's apology post, hearing Brooke lost deals, knowing Tyler couldn't play boss with money that was never truly his. But what remains?
isn't their punishment. What remains is my chest no longer tightening when I hear the word family.
I learned that blood doesn't give anyone the right to control you, steal from you, or turn your pain into content. Respect does that. Accountability does that. Real love does that. If you've ever been the problem child just for refusing to stay silent, I hope my story reminds you that you're allowed to protect yourself, even from the people who raised you. And if your family ever made you feel like dead weight, maybe one day you'll stand in a space completely your own, paid for with your own work, lived by your own rules, and realize they were completely wrong about you. When that day comes, I hope you remember to choose your future over their version of your past. Because independence and accountability matter more than any family drama. And you deserve a life where you don't have to ask permission to exist.